Imagine this. You are sitting across from someone you deeply admire, someone whose honesty and realness you've always respected. When suddenly you notice a subtle shift in their expression, a calculated gesture, a rehearsed line. And in that moment, you realize everything you thought was spontaneous about them might actually be carefully constructed. Their authenticity, the very thing that drew you to them, was perhaps the most artificial thing about them all along. What if I told you that the quality we prize most in others, authenticity, is often the greatest performance of all? That the people we consider most real are frequently those who have mastered the art of appearing genuine? That the entire concept of being yourself has become the most sophisticated form of social manipulation in human history? Stay with me until the end, because the final revelation will completely transform how you understand human connection, personal identity, and the masks we all wear, whether we realize it or not. Let's begin. Since childhood, we've been told to just be yourself, be honest, be genuine, show your true colors. These messages bombard us from self-help books, therapy sessions, and Instagram captions as the ultimate path to happiness and meaningful relationships. And indeed, authenticity can create powerful connections and foster trust. But there's another side to this story, one that is rarely discussed. What happens when authenticity itself becomes a performance? What happens when being real becomes the most calculated social strategy of all? The philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre addressed this paradox when he observed that humans are condemned to freedom, forced to choose which version of ourselves to present, even when we believe we're being completely authentic. This raises one of the most provocative questions in modern social philosophy. Is true authenticity even possible in a world where being authentic has become so valuable? Most people instinctively answer, of course. After all, they feel authentic themselves. But the truth is far more complicated. The moment we become conscious of our own authenticity, we've already compromised it. The person who proclaims, "I'm just being real," has already stepped outside themselves to evaluate their own performance. This doesn't mean authenticity should be abandoned. But it does mean that our understanding of it requires profound revision. The first stage in understanding the authenticity paradox is recognizing what I call performative vulnerability. This occurs when people strategically reveal flaws, struggles, or insecurities to appear more relatable and genuine. Have you ever noticed how the most popular influencers always share their honest struggles in perfectly lit videos with carefully selected background music? Have you ever watched a celebrity interview where they candidly reveal a personal challenge that somehow makes you like them more? The psychological mechanism at work here is what researchers call the pratfall effect. People who show minor weaknesses after demonstrating competence are seen as more likable, not less. They appear more human, more authentic. But this revelation is rarely spontaneous. It's calculated for maximum effect. Take Brené Brown, whose TED Talk on vulnerability has over 50 million views. Her message about embracing vulnerability resonated deeply with audiences worldwide. Yet consider the irony. Her vulnerability became her brand, her marketable asset. Is vulnerability still vulnerability when it's packaged as expertise? When it's rehearsed on stage after stage? This brings us to the second stage, strategic rawness. This is when people deliberately adopt styles, behaviors, or communication patterns that signal authenticity. The casual dress of tech billionaires, the unfiltered language of certain politicians, the no-filter aesthetic that actually uses carefully chosen filters to look filterless. Think about Theodore Roosevelt, often celebrated for his authentic, Rough Rider persona. History tells us he crafted this image meticulously. Born a sickly child from a wealthy family, he deliberately constructed his rugged, authentic frontier persona through calculated decisions and public displays of masculinity. His authenticity was his most brilliant creation. Have you ever carefully selected which unedited photo to post because it made you look authentically imperfect in exactly the right way? Have you ever rehearsed what to say to sound spontaneous? We all have. The third psychological stage is what I call authenticity anxiety. This is the growing awareness that our attempts to be authentic might themselves be inauthentic, creating a recursive loop of self-doubt. What does it mean to be yourself when the self is constantly changing, adapting, and performing? A fascinating study conducted at Harvard revealed that subjects who were instructed to be authentic in social interactions reported higher levels of stress and lower satisfaction with their social performance. Why? Because the conscious attempt to be authentic created a self-monitoring paradox. You cannot simultaneously be in the moment and evaluate how authentic you're being in that moment. What would you do if you realized even your most genuine moments contained elements of performance? How would it change your perception of yourself and others if you acknowledged that every human interaction involves some degree of curation and self-presentation? The fourth stage I call curated naturalness, the sophisticated cultivation of behaviors, spaces, and expressions designed to convey effortlessness. Think of the no-makeup trend that actually requires more products than obvious makeup. The carefully disheveled home that appears casually lived in, but is actually meticulously arranged. The rehearsed spontaneity of reality television. Consider the historical example of Marie Antoinette's Petit Trianon, where she created an elaborate farm to play at being a simple shepherdess. The Queen of France spent fortunes to construct an artificial environment where she could perform natural simplicity. The peasant cottages were built to her specifications. The sheep were washed before she tended them. Her performance of authenticity was perhaps the most artificial thing about her court. Now, take a moment to reflect. Have there been times in your life when your attempts to be genuine felt somehow forced? Have you ever found yourself unconsciously adjusting your behavior to appear more authentic to a specific audience? The uncomfortable truth is that we are always performing, even to ourselves. The self is not a fixed entity, but a dynamic process, constantly being negotiated and renegotiated through our interactions with others. Your authentic self in a job interview differs from your authentic self with old friends, which differs from your authentic self when alone. None are fake. None are fully real. All are facets of the complex performance we call identity. This brings us to the fifth and most important stage, conscious authenticity. This is not about abandoning the pursuit of being genuine, but recognizing its inherently paradoxical nature. True authenticity comes not from refusing to perform, but from choosing your performances deliberately and ethically. Some of the most authentic people in history understood this distinction well. Abraham Lincoln, known for his honesty, was also a skilled performer who carefully constructed his folksy persona and timed his humor for maximum effect. His authenticity wasn't about a lack of performance, but about ensuring his performances aligned with his deeper values. He performed, but he performed truth. The solution is not to stop performing, but to perform with integrity. This means acknowledging the inevitable element of performance in all human interaction, while ensuring that your performance serves something beyond just others' perception of you. Real authenticity is not about being the same in all contexts or never adapting your presentation. That's not authentic. It's rigid. A truly authentic person recognizes different facets of themselves and presents each as appropriate, not out of deception, but out of complexity. Here's the liberating truth. Once you acknowledge the performance aspect of all human interaction, you can become more intentional about which performances serve your deeper values and connections. You can ask yourself, not, am I being authentic? But rather, is this performance in service of meaningful connection or merely validation? You can practice what I call transparent performance, openly acknowledging the constructed nature of social interaction while still engaging in it wholeheartedly. This isn't about being fake. It's about being honest about the fact that humans are complex, contextual beings. The most profound authenticity paradox is this. True authenticity comes not from refusing to perform, but from performing with conscious intention. It comes from aligning your inevitable performances with your deeper values, rather than pretending you don't perform at all. So how can you apply this understanding in your everyday life? First, release yourself from authenticity anxiety. Accept that adapting to different social contexts doesn't make you fake. It makes you human. What matters is whether these adaptations violate your core values. Second, practice authentic flexibility. Allow yourself to express different aspects of your personality in different contexts without seeing this as hypocrisy. You contain multitudes. Show them. Third, focus on authentic purpose rather than authentic presentation. Ask not, do I seem authentic? But am I acting in accordance with what truly matters to me? Fourth, develop authenticity literacy, the ability to recognize when authenticity is being used as a marketing tool or manipulation tactic. When someone heavily emphasizes how real they're being, that's often precisely the moment to question it. Finally, embrace the performance aspect of life not as a deception, but as a creative expression. Your performance isn't separate from your real self. It's one of the primary ways your real self interacts with the world. The truth about authenticity is nuanced, more complex, impossible to simplify. It exists not in the absence of performance, but in the integrity of the performance. Not in static consistency, but in dynamic alignment with deeper values. The most authentic people aren't those who never perform. They're those who perform with purpose. Those who understand that in the theater of human interaction, the best performances aren't the ones that look the least like performances, but the ones that create genuine connection despite, or even through, their constructed nature. So as you move forward, remember this. Authenticity isn't about not wearing a mask. We all wear masks, always. Authenticity is about choosing masks that allow your eyes to be truly seen through them. Masks that allow your voice to resonate with truth even as it's shaped by the mask's contours. Masks that acknowledge they are masks. Because the greatest illusion isn't that we're all performing. The greatest illusion is that anyone isn't. Thanks for watching.